Welcome to the presentation on COVID, Learning Goes Viral, a web-based education tool created through a collaboration between the Yale School of Medicine and the Connecticut State Department of Education. Hello, I'm Polly Painter, Director of Strategic Relations for Precision Medicine and Population Health at the Yale School of Medicine, and the Yale coordinator for this COVID collaborative.
And I'm Ron Michaels, the K-12 science consultant for the Connecticut State Department of Education and the state coordinator for this project. Today, we're going to provide you with a brief introduction and overview of the website, including its purpose and goals. We'll discuss and introduce the 10 learning modules, the teacher guides, as well as contact information for any questions you may have while using this website. Before we get to the actual website, let me say a few words about how this partnership developed. In the spring of 2020, when school districts had to quickly adapt to virtual learning, it was becoming clear that this coronavirus pandemic was not going away anytime soon. There was a lot of misinformation and disinformation about COVID-19 circling in the media, and that ultimately inspired Polly and some of her colleagues at the Yale School of Medicine to approach the Connecticut State Department of Education to collaborate on a learning platform that could provide students with a series of tools to separate fact from fiction.
We were very fortunate to have this team come together so quickly. The working group developed the learning modules over the course of 3.5 months. The Yale School of Medicine agreed to host and build the site, and by September, it was up and running, all with no outside funding. So we are very grateful to everyone who participated. The result is a learning tool that we hope will be impactful and widely used in Connecticut and even across the country.
Here you'll see the home page for the COVID website. For now, the site is targeted to the high school level. The 5 main links across the top under the blue COVID banner are About COVID Description, the modules drop-down menu, team members, teacher guides, and contact info. What's particularly convenient is that this site can be utilized in person, virtually, or both in a hybrid format.
It provides a platform for questions, so students can seek answers using science and data as evidence. We want students to understand that scientific inquiry is a constant cycle of learning, not a means to an end per se, but an evolution of insights and understanding. Across all of the learning activities, you'll find the phrase, quote, use evidence to support your claim, unquote, more than any other.
In building this website, we established 4 main goals. First, to challenge students to think critically about the information they consume regarding their health, especially as it relates to COVID-19, their own personal health, and the healthcare system through an anti-racist lens. Second, to encourage students and empower them to be curious problem solvers about their health and healthcare.
Third, we hope to inspire students to engage in the material in a way that will encourage them to appreciate and pursue careers in healthcare. And finally, we want students to make connections to what they see, hear, and read about going on in the world today. Now let's get to the site itself.
There are 10 learning modules. Each module tells a story, a narrative of 3 high school students whose names are June, Tosh, and Ray. Each module adds a piece of narrative related to the learning theme, addressing how the students encounter the pandemic. We recognize that not everybody is going to have the time and inclination to do all 10 modules. So we intentionally wrote the narrative to be episodic in nature. So whether or not you cover all 10 modules, the story will still make sense if you pick and choose between them.
Now let's review the 10 learning modules and the questions they've been created to address. Each module is divided into what we're calling challenges, which break the material down into smaller, focused activities. Just a reminder, these modules can be taught in any order. First, the pandemic. What is it and what makes it unique? Second module is about sources and how to think critically about the information you consume. Third, we look at the development of treatments. What is the science behind treatments that work and don't work? Fourth, we address testing. What are the different types and why is testing so important in defeating the virus? In the fifth module, we look at social isolation and stress. How are we managing isolation, quarantine, and loneliness amidst the pandemic?
We look at the biology of the virus in the sixth module. What is the actual science of a virus? The seventh is titled Prevention. What steps can we take to prevent ourselves from contracting the virus? One of the most relevant modules we find in the world today is where you will find contact tracing in the eighth module. How does this contact tracing work and why is it so important? Ninth is titled The Vaccine. What is the science behind developing a vaccine and how should it be distributed once it's manufactured? And finally, we look at the public health system as a whole. What is it and how does it serve people?
Now let's break down each module, which is divided into learning challenges, as we said before. First, there's an emphasis on existing materials on the internet. We didn't think it was necessary to create new materials, so most of the time there are some exceptions, but we relied on information available to anyone with access to the web, focusing on scientific inquiry.
The team developed learning challenges which utilize readings, videos, data, and other tools to engage students either individually or in groups. We want students to do research, think about the information they're consuming, and even more importantly, writing and discussing their finding with their peers. Again, similar to much NGSS pedagogy, we don't provide answers on this site. We want the students to be able to draw conclusions and use evidence to support their claims, and then share their findings with each other to promote healthy debate.
Much like many NGSS lessons, CoVED modules will be more effective in student-centered learning environments. This table suggests instructional strategies that should be increased in the left column and ones that should be decreased in the right column to make your classroom more student-centered.
Students need to have ample opportunity to talk with each other about their ideas. Talking with a partner or in a small group gives learners a chance to rehearse their explanation or argument in a safer setting, allowing them to gain confidence about sharing ideas with the whole class.
This course is an important element in doing NGSS science, and it is vital whether the class is held in person or remotely. Fortunately, there are now online tools to support that kind of collaboration, even if students are not together physically in a classroom.
Each module was designed with alignment to the next generation science standards in mind. Teacher guides are downloadable PDF files that include relevant NGSS standards and nomenclature that I think teachers will really come to appreciate. We wanted to make sure that as long as we were putting in the time to develop these learning tools, they would have maximum impact. The hope is that more and more teachers begin to use this material, and that will add to the teacher guides as a way to share exemplary instructional practices.
We all know that there are certain populations who have been hit harder by the virus than others, and we want students to have the opportunity to think critically about how and why people are affected so differently. Every module provides challenges related to the topic that address health inequities. How are we managing the pandemic for our most vulnerable and underserved populations? And what can we do about it?
We also know how important research is to combating this virus. So we try to share the stories of our researchers and what they're doing to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. We know we must maintain scientific integrity despite external pressures to get results quickly.
Finally, each module contains links to professional opportunities so that students can learn more about some of the work in healthcare that they might not otherwise be aware of. Much of the work going into defeating COVID-19 is unheralded and unnoticed. We want students to understand what's happening out front as well as behind the scenes. And maybe they'll be inspired to pursue a career in healthcare. We know the profession needs to grow to meet future demands. So as you review this website, keep in mind that much of this material has gone through a myriad of changes over the last few months and will continue to do so. With this in mind, our intention was to develop materials that would not become quickly outdated. Our plans to review and revise the web ongoing. If you have any questions regarding the content, web page, or access to the materials, please contact me at holly.painter@yale.edu.
And if you have any questions regarding instruction, NGSS alignment, or Connecticut science standards, please contact me at ronald.michaels@ct.gov. Thank you.